SincerValleyTalk.com.
Come on, Joe. Hey. Come on, Joe. Hey. Welcome back. You're watching Kanina's BS Best Solutions on www.CentralValleyTalk.com. I have my guest here, Joe, and I'm going to let Joe introduce himself to you because guess what? Me and Joe have something very in common. He's an author, and guess what? He loves dogs also. So, Joe, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joe Ozier, and I just wrote my first book. It's called Shea's Lounge, and it's the story of a runaway dog that found her forever home.
So, Joe, this is your first book. You know what? I have one book also, and one of the questions I always get, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you desire to write another book?
I do.
You do?
I do. I'm already thinking about what story I'm going to write. I have a couple of ideas, but I think it's going to be the story of a dog that I rescued about 16 months ago named Jimmy, who was dropped off at a car wash for about 3 months. And so I think part of the story's got to have that in it, about the life that he lived there. And then after he met me, and I had to rehabilitate him because that's kind of what I do. I'm a dog behavior trainer, and I help people train dogs that have issues. And so Jimmy had a lot of issues, let me tell you.
You know what? Just sitting here listening to you, or I bet every one of my viewers that are dog lover, you got to love Joe. Because he is, I'm just listening to him, he's a dog lover. And so, Joe, once you, the book that you have written, once you tell us about what that book exactly is about.
Okay, well, it's basically about a story. It's a true story about a dog that I rescued when I was living in Florida. And Shea, I called her Shea the Runaway because Shea had been living on the streets for 2 years, and she was finally trapped by some firemen who had been feeding her for those 2 years as a part of Shea's round, where she probably lived out of garbage cans and the kindness of strangers until they trapped her and they took her to a shelter. And I was doing some research for a musical I was writing about a dog that I already had named Shep, that I also rescued and saved back here in Fresno, and took with me to Florida. And then Shea, when I brought her home, she escaped. And so I went back out in the streets and I went to look for her, and I didn't find her, and she ended up back at the pound. And then they called me and said, "We have your dog." And I said, "I think my dog escaped through the fence." There was a nice big hole in the fence, so I fixed the fence and I went and got Shea and brought her back, and she escaped under the fence. And so she kept escaping, and because she was used to living on the streets and used to being on her own, the master of her own destiny, until one day she escaped, and I went out to look for her and I didn't find her, and I came back home. I was very distraught, and I just thought maybe this was the last time I would see Shea. And she was sitting in my backyard on my lounge chair.
See?
And she never left again.
See. Look here. He's a dog lover. And that all works in the law of attraction. That dog was just continue to be attracted to him. He also is a behavior trainer for dogs, and he works with people and dogs, so so that the dog owners can know how to train their dogs. So tell us, how many dogs do you have? How many dogs are you helping right about now?
Well, I depending on the clients, the ones that call me, I usually work on a dog a week, maybe a couple dogs a month sometimes. But I used to go to shelters and take dogs that couldn't be adopted because they were too mean, or they were unapproachable, or they were frightened, or they ran away anytime somebody wanted to love them and pet them and find out about them, if they might be the dog for them. So I started rehabilitating those dogs, and the dog I have now, Jimmy, was one of those dogs. And so I kind of developed my method of basically getting a dog to, I like to reach where they really are in their head. Outside of the fear and the anger and the anxiety, I find that spot where they're their true self, and then I teach them to stay there and to relax into that place in their head. And so it seems to work, and I help people connect with their dogs and to help bring their dogs back down to a nice level where they can actually be trained.
Yes, and Joe, you do that actually through your business, Weight of a Dog. Is that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, so you know, you say that you deal with dogs that has issues. So in reality, for all my people that's out there looking, and let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you in regards to what type of really deep issues you have, but I want
I have a lot of issues.
Yeah, we can go with that too.
But I think you want to talk about my issues.
Yeah, well, look here, I'm a transformational coach. I do want to talk about your issues, but we're talking about dogs right now. We're talking about the dogs right now. And so what I'm trying to be clear on is, do you ever do like adoptions of dogs?
Well, I have adopted many dogs over my lifetime, and every dog that we've adopted, either as a family pet when I was growing up or into my adulthood, it's always been a dog that has needed to be rescued. And dogs in shelters need to be rescued. Dogs that are tied up in people's backyards that they don't get to be walked, they don't get to be loved, they just be a watchdog, then those are the kind of dogs that I like to help and bring into my world and show them what it's like. My goal is, if a dog has had 3 years of abuse, then I want to have that dog have at least 3 years of beautiful life, and the best life that I can offer them. And usually that ends up being twice or sometimes 3 times as long as the dog lived. Like with Shea, Shea had been on the streets for 2 years, and I had her for 10. So that was 5 times the amount of time that she had, living on the streets versus living with me and living in a domestic situation and being loved and being cared for, and she knew it. And so that's where I get the joy, is when I get the dog to understand that I'm there to help them, and that I want to help them, and that my heart is into helping them, and they usually accept that. You know what I'm hearing, Joe?
I am a transformational life coach, and as a transformational life coach, I work directly with people and understanding the human nature. And what I'm hearing from you as a person of love, of pets, that you actually are doing the same thing, but you're tapping into the mind of the pets. Is that correctly?
Yeah.
I think so. You can understand the pet, you can understand their behavior, and you are able to translate that to the owner, to help the owner.
I think when I look at them, I can see in their eyes, I can see their distressed state, and so I watch their eyes change over the period of working with them, from terrified to content, and it's a beautiful feeling when I see a dog be transformed. And
yes.
That's my goal.
Yes, and what I'm also hearing is Joe is actually living on purpose. This is his purpose and passion. We all been gifted, and just because you or somebody else may not say, hey, how can you, you're a human, how can you understand a dog behavior? How can you do that? We're all gifted with a special gift, and I'm sitting beside Joe, and I can truly sense and pick up that he can really tap into that dog mind or to animals' minds and actually translate it to me, or translate it so that the dog can be better, or also help you as a pet owner. Joe, is there anything else that you would like my viewers to know? Worldwide. We got
absolutely.
a lot of dog lovers.
Well, if you want a really great book that is probably ages 3 to about 11, then I would suggest finding my book on either eBay, and you can just search in eBay for Shea's Lounge, and there's my version, and there's also another version that's a little bit bigger, but it's a lot more expensive. So my version on eBay is $12. The retail is $13, but so you save $1, and you can also find it on Smashwords, which is the digital download version. So you can digitally download several different versions depending on your phone and what type of phone you have. So it's a great gift for Christmas, and which is coming up. So please consider picking it up. I'd be grateful.
All my dog lovers out there, especially if you got kids. If you don't have kids, I know you know kids. Okay, so I want you to pick that book up, and I want you to get that book and give it to a child for Christmas, or just give it to a child. Bless a child. And also, Joe, I know that you're on Facebook. What's your Facebook page? Do you have a Facebook page, or you just have a private Facebook page?
I actually have 3 Facebook pages.
Yeah, so what? Do you have one with your book?
I have a Shea's Lounge page, and I have a Way of a Dog page, and I have my Joe Ozier page. So all 3 of those, you can find videos of work that I've done with dogs and other work that I do, my personal life outside of dog training, and the Shea's Lounge page, where you can go and you can find links to my downloads and my books. So thank you.
And what I'll do also, when this video is posted, or on my Facebook page, which is Facebook.Kanina Johnson, what is it? Facebook.com/Kanina Johnson. What I would do is I'm going to also have him to put his link on that page. And when I come back, I'm going to come back with another powerful guest. Hey. Woo.
Bye. Thank you.
That's right.